Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Teany Hidalgo, your purpose coach. And today and every Thursday at 9 o'clock, join me for the weekly dose of high vibe, forward thinking, and revolutionary content that encourages you to discover the passions that lead you to your purpose. And as always, I love having people online that inspire and that have product services or just inspirational stories that really just help you reach your personal best in your passion. So thank you, Steve. Steve's on. How are you? Say hi to everybody.
Live from Florida.
Live from Florida. That's right. We're going to get into our story in a few minutes.
Great.
But I wanted to say hello to everybody and make sure all the tech is working. Let me make sure we are live. And thank you guys. If you guys have any comments as we go along, feel free to ask away. That's why he's here. And I'll get into his bio in a second. But we do have a little bit of a backstory, he and I.
That's right. You let him know now, or we should keep him guessing?
Well, maybe later. We'll get into it later. They don't need to know right now. All right. It looks like
we're married.
They'll never know. Don't tell your wife.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And for those of you who watch later on, thank you as well. And those on YouTube land, when I post this on YouTube, please feel free to watch there as well. All right. So let me get into the backstory of Steve. Not our backstory, just your backstory. We'll get into us later.
Okay, good.
All right. So Steve is a senior consultant for the healthcare industry over the last 10 years, leads a team passionate and focused on improving the overall healthcare experience from the lens of the patient, which I personally love. As a former executive for a Fortune 500 insurance company, Steve has found passion in taking a groundbreaking SaaS, software as a service, for those of you who don't know, to market. And he's an exceptional communicator and listener too, with a track record of connecting meaningfully at all levels. So thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to get into the details.
Me too.
Yeah. So he's originally from New York and he lives in Florida right now with his family. And so thank you for joining me from so far away. I appreciate you being here. And you and I, and like I said, we'll get into our backstory in a minute, but you and I caught up again. You found me and I found you. And I'm really excited to hear about some of the stuff that you've been working on because, I'm really interested in the healthcare industry in general because as a massage therapist, and I'm a lover of just improving people's well-being. I just love that. So I really want to get into, first of all, how you started your journey because everything starts from somewhere. So how the heck did you start concocting this idea for the product and tell everyone what the product is? But how did you start? Where did you start?
Yeah, well, I can't start without saying how I found you. I was at Chipotle and all of a sudden I get this ping on my cell phone and I'm eating a burrito and it's you live. And I told myself, you know what? I'm going to listen in. So I got this burrito, chomping down, and I hear all this, just great content about your passion and moving forward. And I'm like, you know what? I needed to hear this. So just because we just had done something major, we released into production, and I just felt like, hey, I have to connect with Teany. So long story short, I connected with you. We connected offline. We're here now. So that's part of the story.
Woo-hoo.
But to answer your question, my journey is still going on, but it started with some failing. So I'm always open about talking about failing because I think that there isn't a great story without some failure. I've just never heard of anybody saying it all worked out, it was perfect, it was great. No, there's some adversity. So the adversity I went through is, I was an executive for a Fortune 500 company. All was going great. I was on the list of people that would once lead this company, and life was great until I figured out corporate America, when layoffs come and when there's politics and all that, there are numbers, there aren't people, right? So I was laid off, and later I felt like, wow, that bothered me. I didn't know it at the time. I think at the time I felt well, you know what? I'm just going to go do something big and something better. And they don't know who they missed out on. But later I figured out how much it did bother me and how much, it's okay to say, man, you know what? My feelings were hurt. So long story
They
short, I
don't know
went
who they
out.
let go, right? They don't know.
They don't know, right? And truth is, I went and I started this business of something. Number one, I knew nothing about. I was not passionate about it. I was doing it in the healthcare industry for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it just to prove a point. I was doing it just, again, you can list 3-4 different bad reasons, and they're all mine. And I failed. I literally, opened up, and then 2.5 years later, we just couldn't move forward. But then that's when I got the idea for what I'm passionate about now. We'll go through it, because I started to realize that, hey, I went into something I didn't like, I wasn't passionate about, for all the wrong reasons. How about I just give it another try and do it for all the right reasons and for what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at? And, about 3 years later, here we are, and we're live, and we're excited, and we've had some traction with some providers so far. Very happy about what we've done. And that's in the short story, where I started was failing, and then now in the middle of succeeding.
So first of all, let me stop you, because I love what you said about that it was a combination of the things that you were passionate about and the things you were good at.
Right.
Because that's what it is, guys. Like, it's a combination of things that really catapult you forward. And it has to start with things that you're actually good at. Like, there are some times you're obviously going to need to learn some skills, right? Like you aren't good at everything.
Correct.
But if there are fundamental things that you're really good at, that you're really passionate about, start with that, right?
Right.
And then keep moving forward. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was it. And I'll tell you where I got the idea and what our product is. But one of the things that I love that you combine is that passion with purpose. So, I can tell you all along my life, I've always said, I'm going to do something special in software. I just always have said, I'm going to do something. And I've had some wacky ideas. I've had some good ideas with bad timing. But I've always
The best
felt
ideas are wacky.
We'll go into those later. But I've always felt that, hey, I'm going to do something, and so that's the purpose. And then the passion comes with when you find the problem you want to resolve, when you find something that fires you up. And we'll get into what fired me up for what we're doing. But that combination, and again, I don't believe in coincidences. That's what you do. You bring that purpose and passion together. That's why when we connected, it was almost not a coincidence. It was again, it had to happen. We had to connect again, because my story right now is exactly the one you're telling, a number of times for people.
It was meant to be.
There you go. It was meant to be.
And that's why I do this. I want to show people that there are examples like you, right, out there, that people really do find what they're looking for. And yeah, you sometimes, I love that Will Smith says, he says that to fail forward,
Yeah,
I think it was Will Smith who said that. Because every time you fail, it's not really a loss. It's really just, okay, well, maybe, what is it? Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he created the light bulb. I mean, 1,000 times. Who gives up?
Yeah.
And he didn't give up, right? Like, he just kept going. So
who keeps going? Yeah, I'm so with you. And I'm not going to lie to you. It is a grind on a daily basis. It is a testament to willpower and drive. But the truth is, it's got to be gratifying when you succeed. So I'm not there yet. I'm in the middle, but I can tell you that more times than none, I wake up and I tell myself, I got it. I mean, I figured something out that is going to help a lot of people, and that not only is it a passion of mine, it is going to, call it make waves in an industry of healthcare that we all can relate to, has done a lot of good in certain areas, but in certain areas they're just behind.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
So I hope I didn't go long-winded with the question, but it started
Tell
with
us what it is.
Okay. So during that period where I failed, I had my son, and my son, was in the doctor very often. The ear infections. I'm talking, we were there probably 2-3 times a week, and I always remember my wife with this, oh, I just can't get in contact with these doctors, right? I just can't get through the front desk. I just can't get my question answered. And, oh, we have this form we have to send, we have to drive it over. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I said that the everyday communication that practices and patients have is antiquated. It is the phone. It is send something with camel and or horse buggy or something.
Snail
It
mail.
is so behind. And what I figured out is that the industry was so focused on a lot of other things, telemedicine, but they were missing the real simple of what a patient really wants to do. And what I remember me and my wife went through was we just want to get stuff resolved, right? We just want to get an answer. We are so concerned about our son, about our loved one. The last thing we want to do is hop on social media. The last thing we want to do is be on telemedicine, which is a video conference. Sometimes it is a simple text message that says, hey, did my insurance go through? Or, hey, when do you have a opening so my son can come in? So in short,
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Just this last couple of weeks, I've been trying to reach one of the doctors, and their automated machines on the phone was not working. And I kept calling over. It's been 2 weeks now, over and over and over. I don't have any other way to reach these people except by phone, unless I go there in person, right? And now their machines are broken.
Right.
Insane. It drives me nuts.
It is insane. And you know what that means, and we'll go into how it's a win for the provider and how it's a win for the patient. But ultimately, you will get fed up. And ultimately, when you get fed up, you go to another doctor. Okay, there's no loyalty. That is the bottom line. And for a patient, we want to be engaged on our terms. Okay, we owe it to ourselves. We're paying for this. We're not in Africa where they don't have healthcare, right? We are in the United States where it's $1 billion industry, and I can't get through to my provider.
Yeah.
So we created a product called Carevos, okay, and it's been on the shelf for about 2 years now, on and off beta. If anybody knows software, you've got to put stuff out there. You've got to have people using it. You've got to sort of morph it, build it, scale it. And we're now at the point where we're there now. We're going to open up our internet marketing. We are going to go real big time. But we had to, again, go through the pains of having people use it, critique it, tweak it, fail. In a small portion, you need to get some things where someone says, I won't buy this unless it has this. So when I say I am one of a few people passionate about it, I am. I work with people now, the designers and people that do the development, that all in all they understand the problem, and they literally are all about the solution. So I'm hesitant to say lead because it's a democracy at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, if you have an expertise in design, Tahani, then I need to refer to you, right? I can give an opinion, but you have to, again, defer to people that are experts.
Absolutely. Well, it's a group effort. All this stuff takes a village to produce and to maintain, right? So for sure.
So our product, getting back to what we're doing, is a cloud platform that allows a practice to have a consolidated inbox, and we call it Engage. We don't call it messaging, but it allows them to do voice, text, email, and actual phone call, live phone calls, all in one platform. Okay, the doctor does not need to change their phone system. They do not need to do anything really. They just need to sign up. There's a free trial plan. They pay nothing as long as it's a trial plan. And the intent is to be fair to the providers, okay, and to understand that, they've been sold things that are not right. I did this in a way so that the provider can feel at ease that, hey, we want to be valuable to you. We don't want you to pay any money if we're not.
Yep.
So this platform, we call it Engaging in the healthcare industry, is all about really those touches that are not always very healthcare specific. Sometimes it's a matter of coordinating. Sometimes it's a matter of a question. It's education. It's all the things that lead up to that practice visit where you have 15 minutes with that doctor, right? And we all know that we want to cram all our questions with Dr. So-and-so
Yeah.
because we know if we don't, We are not going to hear from he or she again until the next visit, etc.
Yep.
So it is intended to really help those people that are there with the provider to answer questions. It's all transparent. You know who's talking to you. And we've handled some security concerns like HIPAA. Someone will say, well, text messaging is not HIPAA compliant. And the answer is, under some circumstances, it isn't. And we have protocols and security for that. But if I were to ask you if you can reschedule an appointment, there's nothing HIPAA sensitive about that. And I think when you look at the healthcare industry, you look at these laws that have been written 20, 30 years ago that just aren't conducive to ease of use, right? Ease of sort of moving forward and collaborating.
Getting with the times, guys.
Yeah, there you go. Get with the times. So our
And by the
product,
way, guys, if you guys have questions, or if you know the pains that he and I have experienced with our doctors, feel free to comment below.
please.
Go ahead.
So then, so we have our product, and it's called Caregos, and it's out there, and that's where we are now.
Caregos.com, right?
Right. Oh, Z.
Oh,
VOZ.
sorry.
No problem. So I'm Latin, you're Latin. We all know vos means what in English?
Speech.
Voice, right? Voice. So that's where the name came from, Care and Vos. And the idea is that we do a lot of text to speech. We do a lot of I don't even want to, we translate into 15 different languages. I mean, we do things to try and ease that engagement between the practice and the patient, to a point where I'm even blown away sometimes by the amount of whistles we put on what we do.
Nice. That's awesome. So how many people are you working with to put this together? Like, what did it take? What was the village?
So great question. It's been probably about 7 people on and off, but it's really 3, 4 people consistently on a consistent basis, on a daily basis, working on this. And I'm proud to say that, this is not venture money. This is, I'm all in, right? I mean, I'm transparent. I am all in on making this work, because for a few reasons. This idea, I could have 2 years ago put this in front of a venture capitalist. One thing I do know that changes is the control that you have over what you do and what you want to do and what you want to charge providers. And I wanted to keep that, again, in-house. I wanted to keep those decisions. Otherwise, a lot of the things that I want to accomplish could theoretically just, not be my decision anymore, or the decision of the team, better said. So
yeah, and the quality would be different, right? Like everything could change. Yeah.
Correct. So, and then the story here, for any provider, anyone that's listening, is what's the advantage for the practice? So I just explained the advantage for the patient. Anyone will sign up for more communication options. Well, what I found in my journey too, in my previous failure, was that doctors were really struggling to get patients. They were really struggling in some cases to keep their business going, right? To keep their inflow of visits coming. I mean, they are a business like anyone else. They need to have visits and practices. So what I learned is that, hey, engagement, and this was all through surveys. We surveyed over 1,000 people, and we found that 80% of those people came back and said that the loyalty to their provider isn't what they like it to be, that they would entertain going to another provider if they felt that they offered the same service and they were in network and all of that. So really the benefit for the practice is we have seen that your marketing will succeed 10 times more with better engagement.
Right.
So an example is, if I engage you, Tahani, 6 months, I ask you how you're doing, I resolve your problems quickly, there is dialogue between you and the practice. If I then send you out a marketing campaign, it's better received than if you don't hear from me for 6 months.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the reason being, and what we figured out in our survey, is that healthcare is different than selling shampoo. Healthcare is different than selling a vacation package. If you don't reach me for 6 months and you're Expedia and you send me a special or a deal, I'm all for it. Great. But if you're my provider and you haven't reached out to me in over 6 months, and then you want more of my business, it's not going to resonate as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I forget the number. I think it's like 14 times it takes for people to actually purchase. Like you have to have touch points and they have
Right.
to see you like 14 times, either with ads, whatever, advertising on TV, emails, whatever it is. It takes a long time for people to actually purchase or engage with something. Yeah.
It does. And in healthcare, we found out it's even worse. I mean, the thing is, if I don't connect let me say it differently. The bar is set up here for my provider and me for a couple of reasons. First, they have access to all my sensitive info.
Mm-hmm.
Second, they're expensive, right? Let's face it here.
Yeah.
Is it a visit, even though, I may not cover it, my insurance company covers it, you're paying about $100 for 15 minutes, let's face it. And last but not least, I just want to learn from you, right? I am, you as my provider are almost at the top of my list of someone that's going to help me be healthier and, resolve my health issues. So what I mean is that the bar is even set higher than what you said, the 14, 15 touches. You should be expecting more from your provider, and
Absolutely.
they haven't had the tools to deliver on that.
Even like tips, like I would appreciate, oh, here are your spring tips to
Right.
avoid, whatever, getting too much pollen and, whatever related to allergies. You know what I mean? Like that would be awesome. Did you
Right.
guys interview providers too? Like, I'm a big research fan because I do user experience daytime. So I'm a big fan of all research. I'm glad you did all this research on potential users. But on the other side of things, did you actually talk to the providers themselves and like how they want to engage with their patients? I know
Yeah.
that there's
So
only 15 minutes, but
right.
who
No, it's an
else?
excellent question. So we did it differently. We didn't do sort of a survey. What we've been doing is the product is morphed through working with providers. It's been on their shelf. We go there, we talk to them, they get another release, and we're incrementally really getting feedback from them. And it really hit us one day that their biggest problem, there's two big problems they have. It's the traffic of communications that come back and forth that they can't keep up with, number one. And the second thing, it is the tough part of their practice, which is keeping people coming, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they are very sensitive about having openings that are not filled.
Right.
It is a fact. So we took those two and we did a lot of research about what the industry is doing, and what we found out is that there are softwares out there that do really cool mobile chat. There's softwares out there that do email marketing. There's softwares out there that are one app you put on your phone to text with your doctor. And what was our vision? We figured out that communication needs continuity. And what that means is that if I send you a text message and an email and a voice and none of them talk to each other, then the lack of continuity isn't there anymore. And
Absolutely.
we consider ourselves, really the inventor of the conversation, the digital conversation. Because what we do is we take every one of those interactions, we call them, and we put them on a timeline, on a tree. And it shows the provider very visually. Tahani emailed me on this date. We text her on this date. We did a voice blast for her on this date. And we sent her some email marketing on this date.
Awesome. Awesome. And one of the things I would love, I mean, as a provider, right? Because
Right.
I also send emails to the people that I serve. So things that are, kind of pre-set up. So you don't always
Yes.
have to be in the system. You can actually set it up so that it sends it out every Friday or, for spring and fall and whatever that is.
That is great. So by the way, we do that. And we allow you to schedule whatever messaging you want. We also have pre-canned templates that you can edit right on the spot. And one thing we stay away from, and it's not that we're not open to doing it later, but we're not doing any bulk messaging yet. And what I mean by that is that we want to keep it personal. The idea is that you feel that connection with me on the other side, okay? And that if I made it easy enough for you that it took you 3 seconds to send me a message, then maybe I don't have to send, 1,000 people the same message.
Right.
But we're open to that. Our first release, we didn't want to lose the personal side of what we do.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. People want to have a personal connection with whoever is serving them, especially in a health capacity, right?
Right.
You want to connect with your doctors. All right. So let's bring this up at a higher level. I know that it took a lot of work, and I know you've been working on this for a couple of years. What were the pivot points that kind of you met along the way? Like, was there any, pushback from either provider or the client, the user side, or anything else in between?
Yes, a lot of it. I'm going to tell you, it's a grind. Any business is a grind. One of the things that we came across is when you're not very specific about what you do and very niche, your first response from anybody is, I already have that. Okay. So that was one of the biggest hurdles we had to really overcome from the communication side, is that, doctors have what they call EMRs and practice management systems. And the first response you'll get from them is, I have an all-in-one system. It does it all. So our response is a very direct one. There's no all-in-one system, by the way. There's no business that I know of that runs on one system.
Right.
So that was one of the challenges. Another challenge, quite simply, is reality, running out of money. It is a reality that you really are trying to get this product out, and you're trying to spend wisely, but you're also trying to bring value at every point in time that you have a provider on the phone, or you're demoing something. You want to show value.
Absolutely.
So that's another challenge. A third is just, it's a gut check sometimes. Man, am I really doing the right thing here? And I think that gets answered with purpose. Like you said, you got to really feel it deep down inside. Like, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this. And another thing is, am I solving a problem? Am I really solving a problem? So when we surveyed as many people as we did, we know the problem's there. Okay, there isn't anybody I speak to that doesn't tell me, hey, I like to be able to communicate or streamline my communication with my provider.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about especially that last one is that in my findings from having interviewed so many people and worked with people, one of the key ways that people actually find what their purpose and their passion is because they have a problem.
Right.
Right? There's a problem, right? So like for me, how I got into this field is that I realized, like, as I was going through, through college, through my first years in working for a company, and then like leaving in 2009, I had all these pivot points where I was miserable, right? And so my goal was to help people who were also miserable really find what they love, right?
Right.
And so, right. And so for you, like having that situation with your son and not being able to reach the doctor, pivot point, right? Like terrible, like that you can't reach a doctor. So what can we do about this? Let's come up with something, with a product, right? So yes, I love that.
Yeah. And you see along the way, again, with the purpose part, again, there are frustrating days, but then you start to see some things just fall into place.
Yeah.
You start to meet people, right? You start to connect with, call it a technology that, wow, this is going to help, our voice to text. I mean, you just start to see the pieces fall into place. And that's when you start to really get excited about, I was meant to do this.
Good. So you got into my next question, the personal signs. So awesome. I mean, so you saw signs, you saw people that were really interested in being helped, right? Like that's, first of all, number one. There are people who need this. Obviously, the users on our side, right? The patients, we need something like this. We want to get closer to our doctors. And on the doctor's side, they really do want to connect with their patients in an easier way. I mean, like, I know psychologists who Skype with their patients. Is that HIPAA compliant? I don't know. Right?
Correct.
But the point is that it's easy, right? They can connect, and in ways that non-traditionally they would never have connected before. So
true, very true. And your point about Skype, there's a lot of technology around telemedicine, and that's all awesome. But we all have to remember that that's the time of the visit. But all the other things, right? The 80-90% of the other things we have to do leading up to the visit, the coordination of insurance, the faxing of a new patient form, the document I need to send in for my son's, vaccination, all of that, right, is really what we're trying to resolve. We are not replacing EMRs or practice management or telemedicine. We call ourselves an add-on. We're an add-on to really resolve what I consider 80% of the engagement problems that you have with your patients.
Yeah. I love that. Love that. All right. So I know that your son inspired you because, I mean, he was the reason you were so frustrated and really even launched into this journey. Were there other people who kind of inspired you along the way? I mean, I know your team probably inspired you too, because they were probably motivated to get into this project. So who else?
I have to admit, I'm kind of a softie for, America's Got Talent and all these people that kind of walk in, right, and you don't think they're going to do anything, but they end up blowing away the audience and stuff. So I've taken little steps. I've seen Anthony Robbins. I've just seen that collectively that every story, has purpose, right, has passion, has what I call, destiny, right? And those things, in really smaller increments, right, they motivate me. They motivate me because I realize that you can be 40, which I am, right? And that doesn't mean it's over, right? The game's not over, right?
Right.
It may be just starting. And you see that, right? There's some people that succeed at 2021 or do great things. And then there are other people that, again, takes them a little longer. So I have to admit, I'm a softie for all those kind of real simple stories of people that, got through adversity and they just, boof.
So now that we're talking about adversity, why don't we talk about our story? This is a good segue, guys.
I'll let you start because that way I can back up all the lies.
Okay, so you guys know I did a two-parter live with a friend of mine, Jose, who grew up in the projects. Well, Steve and I actually grew up in the exact same building. So he and I are from the PJs, as we like to call them, way back in the day. And yeah, I mean, we were poor, right? So I, first of all, love stories of people who come from places like ours, which is another reason why I'm doing what I do. And I love hearing from people like you, because we literally came from like dirt poor projects, right? And actually became inspired. And actually, to me, it feels like people who come from these places are the ones who are like on the ground level, right? Who can see the crap that's happening, who can see like the pain, and all the just the craziness that happens in life that we want to support, right? So here you come. I haven't seen you in ages.
I mean, it's been at least, 20 years?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Wow, maybe. Shh.
Yeah.
Don't tell them our age. We're the same age. He already said his. Damn it. All good. But, we grew up with like, a homeless man living, our buddy Walter living he doesn't live there anymore, by the way.
Oh, he got a better apartment then.
I think I hope he's still around somewhere. But, we grew up with that, and we grew up with like drugs and alcohol in the hallways, like dirty, it's still dirty there, to be honest. Like it's filthy there. So we grew up in not the best circumstances, right? Do you want to elaborate on that?
I will. I mean, I remember, I was on the 11th floor, and clearly you get on the elevator before me. And I just remember, every so often you were going to school. I was going to school. I just opened the elevator door and it was you and your sister. and then sometimes they'd be pissed on the floor, right? Let's be honest, right? We look at each other like, and crazy, we saw each other.
You try to blame it on me, right? But it wasn't me. It's clear.
But it was those moments again where we had we would just talk quickly, but our parents knew each other. That was big, but yeah, it was just those memories of growing up and knowing that you were, you've been just as successful, even more, right? Because you went You worked for IBM. Did you go to Manhattan College?
I went to Columbia, actually.
Columbia. Oh, even better. So,
I'm a
just
nerd. Leave me alone.
no, and again, it's just a testimony of those things that we went through, but didn't stop us from moving forward. And one
Yeah.
point I want to make, and I said I'm going to make a point of saying it tonight. You can be successful, but not necessarily have fulfilled your passion.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider there's a lot of successful people out there, but I'm sure there's a lot of them saying, hey, I haven't really done what I'm probably meant to do or passionate about. And then maybe this or a lot of other of your videos tells them, hey, go get that, right? It's not too late. Because I feel like that we've been successful. We are successful,
Right.
but we're still pursuing our passion.
Absolutely. And by the way, that changes over time too, right? Like in terms of you have passions and there may be ones that become part of your purpose and maybe that morphs into something even bigger. So like
Sure.
maybe this project for you turns into something even bigger, like a bigger organization or maybe multiple products that serve similar needs. And now it's like, a series of things that you're creating for the betterment of, these patients. And I love that because you have to run with it. It's a journey, right?
That's a
And
great point you mentioned. I mean, it isn't, it's a journey. I mean, that's the best way of putting it. I can have a different passion next year and have done very well. Or this may be the stepping stone to that bigger passion.
yeah,
100% with you.
yeah. And it all started in the PJs. That's all I got to say. And
Oh,
by the
yeah.
way, I just have to say that his family is so beautiful. I loved his parents and his sister. And I just remember hanging out and meeting them and always like being in the elevator with you guys, but always the most pleasant people. And I love like reconnecting with people like you guys because it just reminds me of when times were easy, but yet they were hard, right? At the same time.
You're
Like it
so
was
right.
easy because we were young and we didn't have to worry about the bigger problems that our parents had to worry about. And but it was easy for us, right? And we were able to become friends and hang out in the building and whatever. So it was just really nice to reconnect and see that you've done stuff. You done some stuff.
No, it does. And again, we know we're both 25. We know that, right? We've said our ages already, and we've done a lot in 5 years. So
That's right. That's right. So that said, I mean, it's been a long journey. We've had a long journey coming from, such crazy place and some such drama, right? What have you done to really keep mastering what you love to do? Like what do you do on the side? How do you continue to grow?
So another good question. The what I've learned is as an entrepreneur, and you said it, you don't have to be the best at everything, right? You don't have to know everything, but you need to be hands-on. So what keeps me busy? It's the next problem, right? So terms of service on your website, right? What do I do with terms of service, privacy? You got to start to figure that out. And the point being is that as an entrepreneur, you're always resolving that next problem. And I learned you can't punt every problem to another person. You've got to you got to be hands-on enough to try to resolve it, get some advice to resolve it, talk to an expert. But one of the mistakes I know I made in business very early on was this corporate America mindset of I'm just going to sit back here and just wait for this person to do this for me and this person to do this for me. That if anybody were to say to me that that's how they want to run their business, I'd say you either have a lot of money and you can do that, or you haven't really understood what a startup is. A startup is about no ego. You're doing what is the next problem today? What are we resolving? What is the next fire? And so that keeps me busy. So whatever it is that I'm trying to resolve, for example, our marketing. I read a few books on sales letters and pitches and how to refine your messaging. Did I write every piece of content? No, but I can read it and I can appreciate it now to say this is good content versus this is bad content.
And if your marketing person was out sick, you have to write it. So
I write it. Totally.
I am
Absolutely.
such a big fan. Ever since I was in college, I remember being part of the engineering organization, and I worked my way up from like secretary to treasurer to vice president, and then to president. And I remember I did it purposefully, because I wanted to learn every piece of the journey, so that when I became president, which I knew I would, I would be able to understand what everybody's job is, and like help them help us, right? And so as a business owner, it's super important because you want to know your product, you want to know your clients, you want to know maybe not the details, but how that stuff works. How does SEO work on a website? How do you get this stuff live? Like whatever it takes, right? You have to actually have an understanding, maybe not a so deep one because you have an expert doing that, but at least a high level understanding of what it is.
100% with you. And like you said it, I think the best leaders have worked their way up. I think the ones that have been the most successful, the best stories I've heard have been the ones that have said, I either started in the mailroom or, I got out of college and I started from the ground up and now I own 100 properties, whatever it is. The ones that really understand their business well, those are the ones I want to be like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to quote Anthony Robbins, also knowing what the future, or maybe you creating the future for your clients too, right? Always knowing what the next decade of like technology is going to be like almost like projecting, right? Because you want to stay in business, and the way to stay in business and have longevity is also to understand your clients even better than they understand themselves, right?
So you mentioned such a great point there that I had to accept that my clients don't know what they want. So and I learned that from a documentary with Steve Jobs, right? We all didn't think we wanted the iPhone, right? Nobody said we wanted an iPad. But you need to be courageous enough to say, you know what, you need this, right? You don't know you need it yet, and you probably think you're gonna get by without it, but you need this.
I remember saying, oh my God, a phone and a camera, that's never going to work.
Right.
It's going to be cheap.
And you know what? And you grew up in technology. I grew up in technology. You're going to take risks, right, with that, because sometimes you're going to forward think. I'll give you a little story of something where I was too early on. And people now are telling me, oh my gosh, when you were saying this, I thought it was a horrible idea, but now everyone's making money off of it. Long story short, I had an idea about a survey site. I'm talking 20 years ago. I said, hey, people are going to need to gather more information about products and stuff and people want and everything and do that and sell that. This was my idea. And I had a website called At Your Survey. Okay, At Your Survey.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and got T-shirts and I did all of this. Well, you know what? Everyone thought it was a horrible idea. Okay. And then 5 years later, SurveyMonkey comes out and all these sites, right, that are doing all of this. I'm like, and this is where I tell you that purpose, also there's timing involved with it, right? Sometimes your ideas are really, they're too early. But that is another venture of which, people tell me now, man, I see surveys everywhere, right? Popping up and all that. But,
timing, and also maybe not giving up, right? Because if you had kept it going, you would have been the one spearheading the whole thing.
That is an excellent point. You know what? I gave up on that one. And you know what? That is an excellent example of everyone just didn't get it. And I wasn't firm enough to say, no, you really need this. I was probably like 25, 26 or something like that. But I realized that
I'm
now.
going to give you the credit. I'll give you the credit, Steve.
Yeah, and look at your survey. I mean, even the name I thought was catchy and stuff, but
it's okay. You got something better now.
Oh yeah, that's in the past. This one's going. This was going places.
Absolutely. So that said, I mean, that's an example of having an idea and maybe perhaps percentage not feeling fully confident because everybody keeps saying that it's never going to work, right? So what do you think are the major beliefs like that, right, that sort of stop people from pursuing what they think is a great idea, right? Something that they really want to do?
I got an answer for that. Real good one. I see too much of the copycat, okay? And I preach this to all the young kids. If something gets popular and then everybody's doing it. And in reality, It's for what reason? It's because I don't want to be told that my idea, which is very unique and very new, is a bad one, because I want to be like everyone else. So for me, it is about I know that what we're doing is unique now. I know that we're breaking the mold, and I know that we're doing something that doesn't exist and comes with all the risk. But that to me is that, what I've learned is that, hey, I could have copycat. I could have done something that's there already, but I'd rather have done something that's different.
Absolutely. And hey, we can call you a serial entrepreneur now.
There you go.
One of my coaches, she calls herself a serial entrepreneur. And I always found that awesome, right? Like you've created multiple, and I've done it myself, but I never really used that term, right? Because I
Right.
don't run those other businesses anymore, right? You don't run the business anymore. But in reality, like you were the mastermind behind
Yes. Yeah.
those businesses. So you are a serial entrepreneur. Like that's your thing. You love starting new and unconventional ideas that serve people and really, help. So I love that.
Yeah, and one point to add to that, when you're really young, your ideas are really good, but they're not mature enough from a business sense. Like you don't know how to price your product, you don't know how to really balance the bringing money in, etc. When you're older, and this is the good thing, this is why I tell folks it's not too late. You're probably right now in your best entrepreneurship condition, let's call it, right? You're in your driver's seat now. You have experience, you understand a lot about business, you understand a lot about your product. That's what's exciting about this phase in my life now, because I feel like I learned so much from the hey, awesome idea, but how you're going to make money, right? Or all about money, no innovation, or no differentiator, or all those things.
Or
So
marketing, or yeah, all those things.
marketing, right, right, right.
Absolutely. I love that. Love that. All right. So now that you've pretty much launched this puppy, right? Like, what do you do when the shit hits the fan and there are problems? Like, I know you said yourself in the beginning, like, as the entrepreneur, as the lead, and I know you're part of a group, but you're pretty much the one that spearheaded the whole project. What happens when a problem comes up? What do you do?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll do the opposite of what corporate America does. You need to be honest, right? You need to be transparent. I mean, I am so. And by the way, in my daytime business, I service corporate American clients. So,
We love corporate. We're not saying
yeah,
that.
you're not saying that, but it is in my vision of my company and what I want to do. It is about transparency. It really is. You read about Boeing and the fact they knew about stuff, and we've worked in corporate America. Most people have, really. We know that someone knew, right? We no one's naive to, oh, this just happened. There's that engineer that they locked up in a room somewhere that knows, right? That knows why those planes went down, right? So to answer your question, I'm going to run this 100% transparent. There are no secrets. Software is not perfect. I want to build a partnership with my clients, and one of the things we offer that I know is really sticking to value is we are going to help them create a marketing plan every quarter. So in addition to the software, we will spend time with them creating a marketing plan, helping them grow their practice, and these are just add-ons, right? To different than what most people do today, which is what, here's the software, figure it out, talk to me later. We really want to stay connected, be transparent, tell someone when we don't know something, right? We don't know everything. So yes, that's what I want to do different. And when shit hits the fan, you're going to get the truth from us.
That's awesome. And by the way, I feel like the whole premise and concept, I love it, first of all, because it really puts the power in the hands of the patients now to be able to engage with their doctors, and also doctors return, right?
Right.
But one of the things that I like to talk about is millennials, because millennials are really big about authenticity. So you being transparent is like a big deal. And second, they're all about like pursuing their purpose and, something really being meaningful to them. And they won't pursue it unless it's meaningful. So I love that, for doctors who are millennials now, or who are becoming doctors, for the younger generation, I feel like this is like a perfect product for them because it connects them the most. I don't know about the older population of doctors because I think, when they're coming from a different generation, it's a little harder to change ways when they've already been using a system, right? You probably have come across that. But the younger population would be the most open to this kind of scenario where now you're so engaged with your clients that, you can communicate over Carevo's, and
Yes.
in that way.
And some of the bells and whistles we build include, we will alert you when you haven't engaged a patient in over 60 days. We quantify the amount of engagement you've done to a patient, right? In minutes and messages, whatever. We have our own quantifying way. And what are we doing by this? We're holding you accountable as the practice.
Right.
Okay. So someone running a practice can run a report and say, has my staff really been spending time engaging my patients?
Yeah.
And we built that in for that reason, because, hey, there are going to be, to your point, the millennials that love the text messaging and the email, but we have automated voice, and we also have live phone calls too. So what we're saying here is that we're giving you the choice to engage. It's not all digital. Sometimes it's the phone. Either way, engagement is engagement. You reached out to me. I know you reached out to me. I can tell you when that other staff member comes that you spoke to me 5 days ago. And I wrote the notes about what I spoke to you about. I mean, imagine a conversation like that.
I would love that, because I've had conversations that were the opposite. Hey, I just called a week ago. You did? We don't have it listed here.
Yeah.
I won't mention the company that I called that said that to me. I'm like, I had a lengthy conversation about changing such and such. You sure you don't have it written there?
Of course. I mean, this is 101. Really, and I'm not knocking the healthcare. I really truly believe they've never had the tools to do it, but it is 101 about personalization and keeping me happy.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. So tell us about, well, first of all, I know that you're trying to reach people in the medical industry, right? So tell us a little bit more info about your business. I'll post the URL again.
Sure.
And how people can connect with you if they're interested in using it, if they have questions about it, how they can get in touch with you, things like that.
Yeah, we have all the bells and whistles. We have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter page. We have you can go to the site and live chat with us too. We have all of that. For anybody that listens in here too, I mean, however they can have my cell phone. I mean, again, I'm about quality, not quantity. So if literally someone is interested in knowing more, I won't let technology hold us back from spending 5 minutes on the phone, 10 minutes on the phone, an hour on the phone. So doors open for that.
Awesome. So definitely reach him on Carevo's.com, and all his social media info is on there as well. And any final thoughts about what you're doing and anything inspirational for the viewers?
No, I just honestly, I'm envisioning 10 years from now, this just being attached to some big, wow, this is where they started. I mean, this is really where, the rubber meets the road. And 10 years from now, and when things are where they are, they're going to look at this interview and you and I will still look the same, right? But they'll look at this interview and say, wow, look at this. Wow, this changed the healthcare industry, right? This changed, or at least at a minimum, it pushed the healthcare industry, right?
Yes.
So that's what I see. That's what
I
I see
love that. I love the innovation behind that. Yes. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for coming on and inspiring everybody. This is what it's about, guys, about having people on. Sometimes it's old friends who we've had a long journey, and you reconnect with them and you see that they're doing really amazing things and really helping people in big ways. And that's what this is all about. So thank you. Make sure you go to Carevo's.com to learn more about the product. Type below if you have any questions about what he's talking about the product, about his journey, about anything that you want to know. even about product development, perhaps, right? Maybe you can help them
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Happy to answer that. And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. This I was looking forward to this for about a month. That's the waiting list, everybody. It's about a month. So you gotta wait. But no, I'm happy I got on and this was awesome.
Yay! I'm so happy to have you on. Friends from the past, guys. Friends from the past. So thank you, everyone. Make sure that you like it. Ching. And share it with anyone who needs to hear this. This is all about sharing is caring with people who want to be inspired, who need to be inspired, who are at the end of their chain, at the end of the rope, and they don't know what to do next. Encourage them to find what they're really purposeful and passionate about. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining. And make sure you go on YouTube as well, Teany Hidalgo, for more interviews like this. And go to purposedrivenrevolution.com to get information on how to do your purpose the right way. And then join me every Thursday to meet with people like Steve for your weekly dose of high vibe, forward thinking, and revolutionary content that encourages you to discover the passions that lead to your purpose. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Make sure you comment below. I'll get them to Steve. All right. Talk to you guys soon. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.